Welcome to the deep dive. We're cutting through the noise today, really getting you straight to the knowledge that matters. And hey, if you're looking for great distilled info like this deep dive, you should definitely visit Mind Expansion Daily. We're always putting up new knowledge shortcuts there.
Yeah, it's a great resource.
And while you're listening, could you do us a quick favor? Hit that like button and subscribe. We really stress the like because honestly, it's the best way to tell the algorithm, hey, show this to more people. It helps us reach more curious minds.
It's super important for keeping the show going. And look, if you find value in what we're sharing today, there's a link in the description. You can, buy us a coffee, help support the work we do.
Absolutely, always appreciated. So our mission today, it's arguably one of the most culturally relevant topics we've tackled. We are diving deep into the science of video gaming.
Right.
Our sources really challenge that old idea of gaming being just a niche hobby or, a waste of time. They treat it more like a cultural juggernaut that's actually actively changing our brains.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And for you, the listener, we want to move past those kind of generational stereotypes and look at the current science. What really happens when you pick up a controller or sit down at your gaming PC?
Yeah, what's the deal?
Is it a genuine cognitive superpower, like some claim? Or is there a potential danger we need to be aware of? We need to look at both sides, the benefits and the neurological risks, all grounded in solid research.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting with the good news, maybe. The sources are pretty strong, arguing that games can be like a mental gym. They don't just distract you, they can actively enhance cognitive skills. We're talking about titles that demand a bit more than, just muscle memory.
Definitely. Think about games that force cognitive flexibility.
Yeah.
You've got creative sandbox games like Minecraft or puzzle games like Portal. They really push your brain into complex, creative problem solving and spatial reasoning too. It's way beyond just passive watching.
And it's not just the slow, thinky games either, right? The research around rapid action titles, stuff like Call of Duty or Overwatch, that seems really compelling too. What are those fast-paced environments actually demanding from us, neurologically speaking?
They demand hyper efficiency, really, in 4 key areas. Super rapid decision making, juggling multiple tasks at once.
Multitasking, yeah.
Selective visual attention, picking out the important stuff quickly, and heightened spatial awareness. Knowing where things are. There was a study, I think 2013, in Frontiers in Psychology, found concrete evidence.
Oh, yeah.
Gamers playing action games just 10 hours over 2 weeks, not even that much, really showed significant measurable improvements, better reaction times, better spatial reasoning compared to control groups.
10 hours. That's a pretty serious return on investment, time-wise. But the big question is always, does it transfer? Do those super fast reflexes actually help you in real life? Say, when you're driving or trying to find your keys in a messy room.
They absolutely seem to. And maybe the most surprising example of that skill transfer comes from medicine, surgery, actually.
Surgery.
Yeah, the sources talk about a 2007 study, Archives of Surgery. They had surgeons train on a video game, one that simulated laparoscopic surgery, keyhole surgery.
Wow, okay. And what happened?
The results were pretty remarkable. Surgeons who trained on the game, even just a little bit, showed real improvement. Better precision, more efficient in actual real-life surgery.
That's incredible.
It's strong evidence that the coordination, the fine motor skills you hone in those fast, high-stakes digital worlds, they can be highly transferable, even to really high-stakes professional stuff.
So it seems like the complexity is key then. It's not just twitch reflexes. Even strategy games like StarCraft, they're constantly honing executive functions, right?
Exactly.
Managing resources, planning long-term, keeping track of opponents. It's like this constant mental chess match.
And we shouldn't just dismiss the simpler games either. Even something like Tetris gets cited for improving spatial reasoning. And maybe just as importantly, they help players get into that focused, low-stress flow state.
The flow state.
That zone where your skills kind of perfectly match the challenge. It dials down the background noise, anxiety, stress. It feels good, and it's good for focus.
Okay, so benefits across the board, it sounds like. If games are physically making surgeons better, we gotta ask how. What's the actual science, the mechanism driving these skill improvements?
Well, the core mechanism is neuroplasticity.
Right, the brain changing itself.
Exactly. It's the brain's fundamental ability to reorganize, to form new neural pathways, basically throughout your entire life. With the surgeons, the structural changes they saw in brain regions linked to complex motor skills. That showed the brain literally adapting to what the game demanded.
So the game is like
Right.
targeted practice.
High-intensity repeated stimuli, It forces the brain to build these new, more efficient pathways. It's learning in action at a neural level. But, and this is a big but, that amazing adaptability. It's a double-edged sword. Which brings us neatly to the valid concerns, the risks, especially around excessive gaming, and particularly addiction.
Addiction, okay. That's more than just playing a lot, right?
Oh, yeah. It's a compulsion. Prioritizing gaming over really critical real-world stuff, your relationships, work, school, even basic health.
We've seen the physical benefits, like motor skills,
Wow.
but is the neurobiological evidence for behavioral addiction actually as strong as, some headlines make it sound? Or is that sometimes overblown?
The evidence is complex, definitely, but it certainly supports a neurobiological basis for problematic use. What's really fascinating is the data on brain structure and function. There are studies, like a 2019 report in Frontiers in Psychiatry, showing gamers who consistently spend, say, over 4 hours a day.
4 hours, okay.
They might show reduced activity in their prefrontal cortex, the PFC.
The PFC, can you just remind us, why is that part of the brain so important? Why does reduced activity there matter?
Absolutely. Think of the PFC as, like, the brain's CEO. Or maybe its internal brake pedal.
Okay, brakes. Got it.
It's responsible for impulse control, planning ahead, managing social behavior, delaying gratification, all that high-level stuff.
Yeah.
So when activity there is reduced, that brake pedal feels kind of mushy. It makes it structurally harder to resist the impulse, to stop playing just one more level. It actually mirrors patterns we see in substance use disorders, other behavioral addictions.
And I guess those structural concerns are even more worrying when we talk about teenagers, right? Their brains are still developing so much.
Precisely. There was a 2017 study in Nature that associated excessive gaming in adolescents with reduced gray matter.
Gray matter.
Yeah, gray matter in brain areas linked to self-control. Gray matter is where most of the actual neural processing happens, the calculations. So losing gray matter in those crucial self-control zones means those executive functions literally have less horsepower. Just highlights the need for serious moderation during those formative years.
This brings up the big one, the thing that always dominates the headlines, the aggression link. For decades, it feels like, the media narrative has been violent games cause real-world violence. What does the latest, most robust research actually say about that?
Yeah, the science has really evolved there. It's more nuanced now. While some earlier, maybe smaller studies did suggest a link between violent game content and short-term aggressive thoughts.
Right, thoughts, not actions.
Exactly. A big comprehensive meta-analysis in 2020 published in Royal Society Open Science looked at all the data. Their conclusion.
Yeah.
The overall effect is likely minimal and highly context-dependent. The consensus is definitely shifting away from a simple cause and effect.
So it might not be the content making people aggressive, but maybe could it be the prolonged intensity, the stress of playing?
That's a much better way to frame it, yeah.
Yeah.
The research suggests that while the violent imagery itself probably isn't turning normal people violent, prolonged, high intensity, maybe very competitive play can significantly heighten arousal, stress responses in some individuals.
Okay.
And that heightened physiological stress can temporarily impact emotional regulation. It might make someone more irritable, more stressed out after playing. It's more about managing the intensity than just the content itself.
So we've kind of come full circle back to neuroplasticity then. We said the brain's adaptability is key to both the pros, like learning skills, and the cons, like addiction potential. How does that loop actually work from like a reward perspective?
Right. If we connect the dots, it really comes down to dopamine and reinforcement schedules. Yeah. Excessive play can overstimulate the brain's dopamine reward pathways. And dopamine isn't really the pleasure chemical. It's more about anticipation, motivation, the wanting. Games are often masterfully designed with variable reward systems.
Like loot boxes or random drops.
Exactly. You never know exactly when the next great item or achievement or level up is coming, that unpredictability.
That's what keeps people hooked, isn't it? That maybe next time feeling.
Precisely. It creates this incredibly powerful, efficient feedback loop. The player is constantly motivated, chasing that next unpredictable reward. And overstimulating these pathways strengthens the neural circuits for that impulsive seeking behavior. It creates that craving. That's a hallmark of addiction.
So repetitive excessive gaming literally rewires the brain to prioritize those digital rewards over maybe real-world satisfaction.
That's the risk, yes.
Okay, here's where it gets really practical. The source material mentioned a personal experiment someone did playing games for a week, just 2 hours a day, a mix of action, strategy, puzzle games, controlled moderation. What did that reveal?
Well, it really confirmed the duality we've been talking about. The researcher noticed subtle improvements, like sharper visual focus in Overwatch,
Yeah.
maybe more confidence tackling spatial puzzles in Portal 2.
Okay, so the benefits were there, even short term.
But even with those strict time limits, they also noted that persistent psychological pull. Some fatigue, sure, but also that underlying craving, that little itch for the dopamine hit during downtime. Even 2 hours was enough to feel it.
So what does all this mean for you, listening right now? What's the actionable knowledge here?
I think the main takeaway is pretty clear. Balance is just non-negotiable. The evidence suggests that, yeah, you can get real cognitive benefits, but that often requires consistent practice, maybe weeks or months. But the sweet spot, the ideal range, especially for adults, seems to be around 1 to 2 hours daily.
1 to 2 hours?
That range comes up again and again. It seems to maximize the potential cognitive gains while minimizing the risks, the negative neurological effects like reduced PFC activity or sliding towards dependency. So to kind of summarize our whole deep dive, gaming's effects, they're complex, they're context dependent. It's not simply good or bad.
Yeah.
Games genuinely can sharpen cognitive skills, boost creativity, even be powerful training tools. Look at those surgeons. But understanding neuroplasticity, how it cuts both ways, means moderation is absolutely vital, especially for developing adolescent brains, to avoid those potential structural pitfalls around addiction and self-control.
So the advice is be mindful. Think about what you play and how much. The sources strongly suggest choosing games that really push strategy or creative problem solving rather than just, highly repetitive or exploitative reward loops. And definitely set strict time limits. Build in actual breaks. That helps fight that impulsive dopamine-driven urge.
Good advice.
For me, the most compelling finding really is this idea that well-designed games aren't just entertainment. They can be powerful, specialized training tools. Think about how that knowledge should change things. Education, maybe physical therapy, professional training. The potential seems huge.
Absolutely.
The game isn't over, We're really just starting to learn its rules, neurologically speaking. Okay, now we want to hear from you. Here's a final challenge for our community. Have you personally noticed changes in your own brain from gaming? Maybe better multitasking? Or maybe you do struggle sometimes with that urge to play just one more level.
Yeah, we're curious.
Leave a comment below. Let us know if you agree or disagree with this summary. We really value that discussion.
And also, we're always trying to see how far these deep dives travel. So if you could, please list the location you're listening from in the comments. We genuinely read every single one. It helps us see our reach.
Thanks so much for joining us on the deep dive. Remember to hit like, subscribe if you haven't, and definitely check out Mind Expansion Daily for more knowledge shortcuts.
See you next time.
We'll catch you next time.